I love
He said, I love
it. This is not our fight.
it. All right. Listen, well, all right. Well, on that note, let's switch gears here, buddy. So I've been doing these social experiments, right, on Facebook, right. A lot of people think I just be full of shit or like I don't know, trolling or whatever the case may be, but I mean I actually be engagement farming. You know what I mean? So my whole goal with all this, right, with all these statuses I be posting, and I'll read one to y'all in a couple of them to I say because it's gonna lead to a discussion. But my whole entire goal with this is really to see get some feedback, get people mindset, right? So I posted this today. I was like, women with baby fathers, how did y'all end up in that situation? What questions did y'all not ask during the interview process? And I know it sounds kind of funny and like kind of tongue in cheek, but I really want to know because it's like, fam, like I'm raising a daughter. And so if my daughter was to read something that I posted or something left by on Facebook, going through my Facebook and saw like women engaging with this and giving their honest opinions about it, I think it would give her some insight into if I would just say I was not around, because of course I'm gonna help her go through a whole vetting process, which I think that's what fathers are important for. I know a lot of times nowadays people don't date with their mother and fathers, like meeting their boyfriends and stuff before they get into a serious relationship. It's like, hey, this is my boyfriend. I've been seeing him for 6 months. What do y'all think of him? Type joint. Instead of being like, hey, this is a guy I'm seeing. Let me introduce him to my father. I think those days are kind of long gone. You know what I mean? But this is to give you some insight if you're a woman out there and you're reading this and you're like, man, maybe I should take some of this into consideration. So one of the comments that I really appreciated, bro, my homegirl shit, then she was like, man, she was like, this is very thought provoking, and like she even hit me in my inbox, was like, man, I really appreciate that. She was like, she said she didn't ask if he loved God. She didn't ask about his upbringing. She didn't ask him to wear a condom. She said, to be honest, I didn't ask, nor did I care if he even liked me. She said I was just a lost little girl. And then her sister said, hey, she said I wanted somebody that loved me, all of me, flaws and all, unconditionally. That's how I ended up with kids. And I said, did you feel like he did at the time? And she said, yeah, I did. But my thought process was he can leave whenever, but that's when, he'll always be mine. And that was when I was younger and tougher. You know what I mean? I thought that was like extremely thought provoking. And I had another reply. Here, this one was really good too. Let me scroll down. It said, she said, I was his first gig, his first baby mama. I didn't have a reference to go off of. I should have done better research. I said, understandable, but if you don't mind being transparent, I said, were y'all in a relationship? She said, we were in a relationship for 2 years before having a son. At one point, we discussed marriage, and the relationship just started to go sour and got progressively worse after having our son. The cheating got bad. The mental and verbal abuse was tiring. And it just didn't last like I thought it would. I said, dang, I'm sorry to hear that. I said some other things, but I was saying, like, when it comes to postpartum depression, I think men sort of kind of need training in that, because I know having a child complicates a relationship. It's tough on a marriage. So if you're just seeing somebody and you're just dating and you don't know how they deal with adversity in a relationship and having a child, whether you believe so or not, it adds a real strain on the relationship. And I was saying that men need to go through postpartum as well, postpartum training, or at least start making it more acceptable and not so taboo to talk about. Do you agree with any of that, Berner?
Uh, First off, I appreciate the dialect. I think anytime we have something rooted in a attempt to have a positive outcome should be respected and appreciated. But what I will say, in any of that, I do have my oldest son is by a woman who was not my wife. And what I learned, and I don't know if she can attest to this, but what I'm going to stand in is that actions always prove why words mean nothing. So, looking at my situation, there was nothing that I could have asked. There's nothing that she could have asked me that wouldn't have put us in that situation. Although that's thought provoking, talking ain't what got any of us in those situations. It's the actions. So the reality is most of those people were never married, myself included. So there was a bunch of actions that we didn't take, that would have solidified or provided a lot of clarity in those situations. So I think again, an un a great question, very deep topic, but I think again we have gone so far from tradition in a sense. Not to say that a person can't be married and get divorced because that happens too, but again, that's so far from tradition that we fall in love with the idea of house and family, where that action is off, right? Because yeah, we know, you know how I know people can say the absolute right things. Like, what can a person say or not say, right? Like, oh yeah, you may go to church, you
Mm.
may have a good job, you may be solid, you may come from a good family, but at the end of the day, your actions may say, I ain't the one for you. You know, so I think it's a little bit different, a little bit deeper, and I'm just taking it for context and conversation,
Mm-hmm.
taking it from a different angle. But it's more about the actions for me because if I, excuse me, if I look at my situation, there was a lot of stuff that I knew that I didn't even have to ask. Right?
Mm.
If you ask anybody anything more times than not, they're gonna give you an answer based off of their intention. Intention doesn't mean anything. We have to stop at intention and look at the space between intention and results, right? My perfect analogy is a person who's driving home drunk from the club. You kill somebody in that car, you getting vehicular homicide. It wasn't your intention to kill anybody. Your intention was to go home.
Mm.
Results matter. So when we talk about relationships and baby mama and stuff like that, those that's a great segue into diving deep. And I love how those ladies took accountability. But that action piece is what matters,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because all everything leading up to that was an action.
Yeah, and I think when I say ask like interview process, like I said I was joking a little bit about that but I think that's a huge problem too, where we don't converse or even get to know the people that we are sleeping with. You know what I mean? Some people just
Agreed. Yep.
it's hookup culture. You know what I mean?
Facts.
Like
Facts.
it's
Yep.
like no, I just want to smash, but we know that it's potential that you could impregnate somebody when y'all are having sex, protected, unprotected, on birth control or not, bro. I've seen. I mean,
Yep.
we know that was a thing back in the day. Oh, she was on birth control and she got pregnant, or she was on the patch and she got pregnant. You know what I mean? So, but I think it's we hookup culture has got it to the point where we don't talk to each other, but we don't have these conversations at all. Because if I'm having a conversation, I can look at you and say, "Oh, you're physically attractive," right? But if I
Mm-hmm.
got to know you a little bit on a deeper level, I can see that, oh, you might be a little off. You know what I mean? Like you gonna cause me some problems in the future. I like if I just ask this, and like I said, it's just about getting to know somebody, asking a simple question like, "Hey, was your parents together? Where you come from a 2-parent household? How are you with money?" Just like bro, I like to ask those questions because I've always kind of been intentional with dating. Of course, I've hooked up a lot of times in my life as well, but I always been kind of intentional in getting to know the women that I've dated in the past. You know what I mean? I be thorough with the questions too. Like I asked my wife, bro, when we hooked up. I ain't asked her. I told her my credit score because I was like, hey, you got to know this about me, man. I'm coming out of a situation like it might not be something that you ready to deal with. You know what I mean?
You a better man than me.
Hey, no, I'm gonna tell you, bro. It come with also being egoless and knowing yourself. You know what I mean? Because like I said, like I like when you like I have been divorced. You know what I mean? So I'm coming out of that situation. I lost custody of my child. I was fighting and lost custody, lost the battle of custody. So he initially went with his mom's. So that comes with, you know what type of problems those come with. It come with losing half of your stuff. You know what I'm saying? Paying child support, all that, the typical story. You know. So when I decided to put myself back out there and get back into the dating pool, I knew I was going to be very intense because I learned from the past. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like literally my first wife, I didn't even get to know her as well as I should. It was things that she said where I was like, oh, had I known that, probably would have went a little bit different. You know what
Right.
I'm
We
saying?
just would have been homies.
Yeah, yeah. We oh yeah. What up, dog? Like, high
What up,
five.
sis?
What up, sis? Oh, big sis. You know what I'm saying? Like that'd have been sis like a mug, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how I started off anyway. You know what I mean? So it's just that's why I say the question, quote unquote, the conversation is kind of tongue in cheek.
Absolutely. And I think it's phenomenal because it gives avenues to so much deeper conversation too. It's a really good question. But yeah, brothers, ask them questions, man, and sisters, ask them questions, and then you gotta watch action too.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, in good faith, I may say this, I may come from that, but when it comes to now, I may not be on that.
Right, 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 right. Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just how I go. Like, what are my actions saying? I remember my aunts used to tell us, my auntie, rest in peace, back then, you talking about 20 years ago. It was like, hey, that birth control stuff, if them girls don't take that consistently, it's ineffective.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care what she tell you, you need to protect yourself.
Bro, I listen, bro. And you know, now that you said that, I'm sorry I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like now that you said that, bro, I remember being young, and it was like, bro, that was a big thing. Oh, she got pregnant on the pill, or she got pregnant on a pat, and you take it, think you trying to make put a hold a 19, 20-year old, so to speak, even in some cases 16, 17-year old, responsible for taking those pills. That bro, they can't remember nothing. I think about how much my son don't fill out his agenda every day.
Yeah,
I'm like, bro, you did your agenda today. Like, how you even know what y'all did in school if you ain't did your agenda? And you
facts.
expecting a young adult or a teenager to keep up with a birth control pill? Yeah, that's wild. That's a lot of responsibility on their shoulder.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. But
That's nuts.
yeah, it's absolutely nuts. But I asked this question too because I thought this was funny. I
Let me
was
see.
like,
Let me hear you.
because I know we like to in the space that we in, we have to make it equal. So I asked the fellas the same question. I said, fella, because women was like, oh, y'all dudes be lying on my status. I was like, okay, that's cool. We do be lying, but y'all lie too. Y'all wear makeup. I said, I said, fellas with baby mothers. I said, what lie did you tell her to let you hit it raw? And why aren't you in a healthy co-parenting relationship?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, yeah,
Why didn't you? Because you asked two questions. You
yeah,
asked a question to the women and you asked a question to the men.
yeah.
But both your questions was blaming the men. When you asked the women, why didn't you ask the women why they lie and the guy chose not to stay with them? Because both your questions you posed, you blame the
Let me
dudes.
see.
He a feminist, ladies and
Oh dang! I
gentlemen.
did ask. I did blame the dudes. You're
Yeah,
right. You're right.
yeah.
Dang, both the questions. Okay, it was just the way it came across my mind, bro. I don't
Right, right,
know.
right. No, I
Yeah,
feel you. I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
you.
yeah. I don't know,
No,
but
because
dang, I did blame them.
why did they allow a guy to go inside of them unprotected?
Mm-hmm. Well, I told you, brother. Oh, one of my homeboys said I don't live in the real world. I said no. I said I said fool. I said I do. I said you just gotta go. You just gotta do the old trick, family. She don't say nothing. You don't say nothing.
Right.
I think that's how a lot of women end up pregnant. Like let me
Listen,
let me see
it's
how
a
she.
bunch of sizzles. It's a bunch of sizzles, especially if you've been on a college campus before. I caught them sizzles before. them sizzles mean you're gonna be taking, a pill or a liquid form for 3 to 5 days. You're gonna be drinking more water than you ever drank in your life. Listen, stop playing.
Yeah,
Stop
yeah,
playing. Y'all
y'all
know.
definitely got to stop playing, man.
Y'all know, stupid man.
like if she don't move back and be like, what you doing? I'm just gonna keep on going. That's what I'm gonna do.
I got homies that's way too old to be talking about if it's God's will. No, you a fool.
Oh.
God like don't put that on me.
Dog, you almost just killed me, dog. Dog said you way too old to be talking about if it's God's will, dog. Dog, that is nuts, man. But listen, dog, I'm just at the age, bro, where I don't like to waste a lot of space and energy, bro. And I see a lot of people, a lot of people tweet these things. They trying to sound motivational or smart, bro. And it's like, okay, bro, we in the real world. Like, yeah, that sound good. You reading all the books, you requote, you saying you retweeting or you re-quoting all these different motivational sayings and everything. But fam, like, how are you actually helping somebody? Like, you know what I mean? So that's why I kind of like to be cathartic in social media spaces like this, because I want to be thought provoking. I want to get your wheel spinning. You know what I mean? I don't want you to just feel good every time you. Some stuff is going to force you to deal with yourself, and like I've been forced to deal with myself my whole life, but some stuff is going to force you to think and look inward and think about some stuff. But also, it's like, if somebody young is coming across this, I got younger cousins, siblings, kids I'm raising that where if something happened to me and they want to go back and read this, they'll be like, "Oh, okay, I see what he was on," type shit. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
I think it was good, bro. I mean, very thought provoking for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, for
For
sure.
sure, for sure, for sure. Let me see where we at. Where we at? Where we at?